Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Innovate Finance, our podcast series where we speak to industry leaders on financial innovation and fintech. I am Roberto Napolitano, Marketing Director at Innovate Finance, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Andrew Lloyd, Chief Customer Officer at Pexa, the Australian fintech changing the way properties are exchanged. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Roberto. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Also, a big thank you to the Australian Trade and Investment Commission in the UK for introducing Pexa to Innovate Finance. So, Andrew, can you tell us more about Pexa and Pexa UK?
Yeah, happy to, Roberto. So, before I get into kind of a bit around Pexa and Pexa UK, let me just explain what Pexa is. So, Pexa at its core is an exchange. It's a means of exchanging the property title, so the actual property that sits at the land registry, for example, and the funds that you use to buy or sell that property. So the same way the London Stock Exchange works for stocks, Pexa works in a similar way for property. We were built back in 2011 on the back of an Australian government initiative for e-conveyancing, looking at actually how do you revolutionise the way that e-conveyancing is done, taking paper out of that experience. We've been really successful in Australia, growing from a handful of people now to 400 people and actually IPOing in the middle of last year and addressing, I think we now handle something like 90+% of property transactions in Australia across the platform, which has been a phenomenal growth for us. As you can imagine, once you hit that kind of penetration in the market, 90+%, the question becomes, what next? What's next for that growth horizon? And so absolutely the UK was seen as our next market to go after, our next kind of port of call, for want of a better phrase. And that's what we're working on at the moment. So we kicked off an initiative middle of 2020 to do the exploratory work of the UK market. We commissioned ThoughtWorks to actually build our technology platform in the beginning of 2021. And we'll be launching the platform and our first transaction in September of this year. So it's been a phenomenal journey, both in Australia and then more latterly in the UK as well.
That's very exciting. Congratulations on all these achievements. So may I ask you, what was the original idea behind Pexa?
Yeah, happy to, Roberto. So our genesis really dates back to 2008 and a Council of Australian Governments initiative to transition the Australian market out of the paper-based lodgement and settlement process that they had back then and really into the 21st century and into the digital age. So they built a regulatory and legal framework for e-conveyancing, and Pexa was essentially created to take advantage of that framework. So at its core, it was a joint venture by a set of enterprising individuals from across government, banking, legal, and conveyancing communities to really think about how do we take advantage of that e-conveyancing initiative and drive a different way of transacting in Australia. Originally, we were formed as a company called National E-Conveyancing Development Limited. Thankfully, we've had a name change since then. And we've grown from a handful of people to now over 400 people across Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, India, and now into the UK as well. So it's been a phenomenal journey.
Fantastic. And I know that it's been a very kind of fast journey as well. So can you tell us more about this journey actually from being a startup to actually do the IPO just in a few years?
Yeah, happy to. And look, it's been significant and there's been so many milestones along the way. I think the first one was really the technical build. So building that technology platform that people could use. We started that back in 2011, working with a third party on that, and then building that connectivity into the title offices, into the revenue offices, and then into the Reserve Bank of Australia. Then once we had the technology platform set up, it was really about building out the customer base. So getting the banks on board, really one by one, working with them to say, how can they do things differently to what they do today? Really in what we called a crawl, walk, run model. So we'd start small, ensure that the platform was robust, and then build out for mass uptake. Then the third real pillar of it was about building that trust with the conveyancing community. Not the quickest of communities to change their mindset and mentality, but what we were able to do was really partner with them on this transition and coach them and help them work through, actually, how can they do things differently from what they've been doing historically? And why is it not only better for them, but better for the lenders, better for the borrowers, and better for everyone in the ecosystem? What's been really key as we've gone through that journey from startup to IPO is that we've not stood still. So it's not about actually that we built a platform back in 2011 and it's been exactly the same as it is today. It's been about, okay, how do we learn from the various members of the community? How do we keep evolving the platform so that it's really serving the customers' needs that we need it to serve and delivering a first-rate service? What we've been able to do really successfully is actually build a really strong culture within the organization. So as we've grown, we've really been a purpose and values-driven organization. And it's critical, that as we've grown from that startup phase now into a publicly listed company, we really continue to develop and refine that. I think it was a really special moment for our group managing director and CEO, Glenn King, along with a number of the other long-standing employees, to ring that bell on the ASX when we listed as a real milestone for us. It's that dream that a lot of the startups hope for, is that IPO. And it's something that was a really exciting milestone for us. And now it's really, what does that next phase hold for us? And looking at the growth horizons, both in the UK, in Australia, and then further afield.
Thank you very much for sharing that. It's quite exciting. Now, if we focus a little bit on the UK market, which is actually kind of a new market for you and for Pexa, what are the plans for Pexa in the UK specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So our plans for Pexa in the UK are reasonably similar to what they were in Australia back in the day. It's really about helping the UK property market to do things better and do things differently to how we've done it historically. You can go into some of the largest lenders here in the UK and you still see fax machines. And you still see paper being exchanged. You still see emails going back and forth. And it sounds crazy that we sit here in 2022 and we talk about fax machines. But this is the truth of it. And so what we're really trying to do is support that community to say, we can do things differently. We don't need to place reliance on these legacy, outdated processes. We don't need to say, actually, it's an us and them model between lenders and conveyancers. We can bring that ecosystem together and really transform the way that people buy and sell property here in the UK, with Pexa enabling that transformation. We've got a really strong foothold here in the UK, so we've had some really great engagement with the ecosystem, building out relationships with the UK government, building out relationships with the Bank of England, the conveyancing community, the lending community. And now it's about actually going live in September, building out those proof points and then demonstrating to the market that actually there is a better way and bringing the market on that journey with us.
Great, thank you. I mean, that's a big task to revolutionize the market. So in terms of the UK market specifically, what challenges and opportunities are you seeing in this market? And I'm sure there's many challenges, but also good opportunities. Otherwise, you would not choose to enter the market and to develop the market. So can you tell us more about these challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, happy to. Well, I'll start with the opportunities, because I think at its core, the UK market is a massive opportunity for us. It's structurally very similar to Australia. It operates on a very similar legal framework, but it's about 3 or 4 times the size of Australia. So if you think about from a total addressable market perspective, it is a significant market and a significant value pool for us to go after as an organisation. It's also actually, when you look at the way people do business, there are still improvements that could be made. So there's still significant friction in the home buying and selling process that actually we believe that Pexa's proposition could help to address, and some of the inefficiencies that we can really work through. However, saying that, it's not easy, right? Even with our pedigree in Australia and what we've been able to do, actually moving a market is challenging. The mortgage market here in the UK is not known for its pace of innovation. It's probably fair to say. I think just about everyone would agree with that. And it's trying to say, actually, how do we move people forward in a meaningful way at pace, based on all of the other things that they've put on their agenda. So although Pexa, I think it's fair to say, is a phenomenal proposition, is really exciting, it's not the only thing on people's agenda. And so regulatory change, technology change, making sure that the journey is as streamlined and as frictionless as possible is also up there. And it's about, okay, how do we fit into that overall roadmap, and making sure that fundamentally our customers see the value in Pexa and prioritize actually what does that end-to-end journey and experience look like.
Thank you for that. Any specific areas, let's say critical areas, that you think that need developing in order for Pexa to succeed in the UK market? I'm just thinking about, for example, talent acquisition and talent retention. At the moment, it's a big area, a big challenge for a lot of fintechs. Is that similar to Pexa? Is it a similar challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So talent acquisition and talent retention is obviously a hot topic for us. We've got phenomenal IP from Australia. We've got phenomenal backing. Being a publicly listed organization, it's really about tapping into that talent pool that we have in the UK and then retaining that talent. So, we don't want people to come and just do a 12-month stint with Pexa. We really want the people to come and join us and really flourish and have a phenomenal career with us. So whether that's secondments out to Australia or people being, seconded to other markets that we might look to enter, that's absolutely something that we're looking at. But 100% getting the right talent involved and retaining that talent is absolutely the critical area for us. We're quite lucky in that, we are a fintech, we are a purpose-driven organization, we have a really strong set of values. Along with a really strong culture, which helps. It's fair to say and differentiates us in the market, but absolutely, it's a core focus area for us, and definitely something that is being discussed around the Exco table week in, week out.
Thank you, Andrew. And then I wanted to focus on something that is very important, at least here at Innovate Finance. It's ESG, so environment, society, and governance. And I know that Pexa has got some projects and plans that are really aligned to the ESG objectives. So can you tell us more about, the positive impact that Pexa is having on society, and specifically what are Pexa's ESG objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. So ESG is really closely aligned to our overall vision. Our overall vision is transforming property experiences for everyone. It's about how do we make things better, make it happen, innovate for good. So that real social purpose is key for us. We are absolutely aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, really pushing that net zero initiative with a key commitment around looking at when can we be net zero and how can we get there. And then it's about actually how do we get that societal angle for us, and how do we make that impact that is significant, both in terms of all of our stakeholder groups. So if you think about our employees, our customer base, but also the communities that we work with, and how do we change people's lives for the better? Something that we're really passionate about and is really driven by a group chief executive and MD is homelessness. And it's a real growing societal issue, both in Australia and here in the UK. And just in the last 12 months, we've actually raised $250,000 to help the Homes for Homes piece and really start to try and address that. Then finally, what I'd say on the governance front is it's really about having that right structures in place to making sure that when people say that they're going to do things, we have the commitments to back it up, and we're doing the right thing for the right people. And I think that's really key for us. Obviously, we have a key focus on our modern slavery statement and responsible sourcing policies, which are probably hygiene factors in today's age. But we are really focused on doing the right things, making a difference globally, and making sure that we do things in the right way fundamentally.
Thank you, Andrew. That's quite impressive. I just want to ask you something about your role as Chief Customer Officer at Pexa. Can you tell us more what your objectives, your responsibilities are as a Chief Customer Officer? And maybe you can tell our audience about your background a little bit. I think that would be also interesting.
Yeah, happy to. So my role here in the UK, Chief Customer Officer. So fundamentally, I'm responsible for building out the UK ecosystem. So working with the conveyancers, working with the lenders, working with different third parties, and saying, how do we build that ecosystem of participants with Pexa at its core that can really transform the market? And that ranges from initial engagement, initial conversations, through to contracting, through to in-life management, through to at some point, ongoing management and governance of those relationships. I've got a team of 4 people split, evenly between conveyancers and lenders and third parties. And at the end of the day, we're about talking to people. We're about solving people's problems. We're about a really customer-focused solution to problems within that property space. And that's what we're here to do. And, fundamentally, it's not about sales. People might say, oh, you're a sales function. I really don't like to think of us as a sales function by any stretch of the imagination. I think of us as a problem-solving function at our core. We're about solving problems with the Pexa proposition and how can we do that to better that property home buying experience? You talked a little bit around my background, so just to give everyone a bit of a view on my background. So I joined Pexa back in August of last year. Before that, I worked for an investment manager called Invesco, based out of Henley, running their EMEA and APAC internal consulting teams. And then before that, I was a management consultant with a focus on retail banking and payments.
Great, thank you, Andrew. So you've got this background of solving problems also as a management consultant. So that's great that you've got these skills in your current role as a Chief Customer Officer. So that's all for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Please keep an eye out for our upcoming episodes. And I want to remind you that all our previous episodes are available on our website. So please take a look at our catalog for many more insights on fintech and financial innovation. So thanks again to our guest today, Andrew Lloyd, Chief Customer Officer at Pexa.
Thanks, Roberto. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you all at home for listening. Join us next time for Coffee with Innovate Finance. Bye for now.